Facial recognition technology, it feels like it's just everywhere now, a totally seamless part of our daily lives. But behind all that convenience, there's a really complex and, frankly, challenging reality. So let's dive in. And yeah, on the surface, it's all about making life easier, right? A quick glance and your most personal device just opens. It automatically sorts through your thousands of photos, finding the people you know in a sea of memories. It feels so intuitive, it's almost like magic. But here's the thing. What if that convenience comes with a cost we're not really seeing? That's the big question we're tackling today. We're going to look past these everyday uses to uncover what researchers are flagging as some pretty profound risks. So let's pull back the curtain and look beyond just our phones, at the powerful and often invisible ways this tech is actually being deployed. We're going to break this down into 3 fundamental dangers that researchers have really zeroed in on. Understanding each one is key to getting the full picture of what's really at stake here. All right, let's start with the first one, and honestly, this one might be the most sweeping risk of all. This is the risk of mass surveillance. The idea that we could be turning our public spaces into zones of constant, unending observation. The name itself, the digital panopticon, it evokes a powerful and pretty chilling idea. So the crucial point to get is this. Facial recognition doesn't just identify a person here and there. It enables a whole system of continuous tracking. And once you build that infrastructure, it becomes an incredibly powerful tool for monitoring everyone, all the time. This has a direct, and I mean direct, impact on our basic democratic freedoms, like the right to gather or to protest without being logged in a database. And this brings us to what's known as the panopticon effect. It's a really fascinating psychological principle. See, you don't even have to be actively watched. Just the possibility, the mere chance that you might be watched is enough to make people change their behavior, to self-censor. It's a subtle but incredibly powerful force that can put a chill on free speech and association, which are, the absolute lifeblood of a healthy democracy. Okay, let's move on to our second big risk. This one isn't so much about being watched as it is about being judged by an algorithm. And this gets us to the huge problem of bias. We tend to think of machines as being totally objective, but the data they learn from, that data can be packed with all sorts of human biases, and that can lead to some seriously discriminatory outcomes. I mean, the goal is pretty straightforward, a system that works equally well for everybody. But the reality, as study after study has shown, is that these systems often have wildly different error rates for people depending on their race, their gender, or even their age. And look, this is not just some minor technical glitch. This has severe real-world consequences. Just imagine being misidentified as a suspect in a crime or being unfairly screened out of a job application, all because the algorithm is simply less accurate for someone who looks like you. When the accuracy isn't equal, the justice isn't either. It's not simple. That brings us right to our third and final risk. This one tackles what happens when these systems inevitably get it wrong. This is all about what happens when you try to fight back against a decision made by a machine. It's the challenge of holding an opaque, non-human system accountable for its own mistakes. Let's make this personal for a second. Imagine the system flags you for something you absolutely didn't do. You know it's a mistake. So what are your options? How do you even begin to clear your name? Well, the process can feel like hitting a brick wall. It basically flips the whole idea of innocent until proven guilty completely upside down. First, you get misidentified. Then you try to appeal. But when you ask why, how did this happen, the answer is locked inside a black box. The algorithm's logic is often a trade secret or just way too complex to explain. And without a reason, you can't form an effective legal challenge, which leaves you with no real path to a remedy. So when you put these 3 risks together, when you stack them up, it becomes really clear that this is so much more than just a technology issue. You've got the threat of constant surveillance creating a chilling effect on freedom. You've got algorithmic discrimination leading to deeply unfair outcomes. And then you have this crisis of accountability, where correcting simple errors becomes almost impossible. As the researchers put it, the problem here isn't just about code and cameras. It's about justice, it's about ethics, and it's about what kind of society we actually want to build. And because this challenge is so profound, the conclusion that many researchers are drawing is that we simply cannot let this technology develop unchecked. It requires a deliberate, society-wide response, and that's going to have to come in the form of smart regulation and oversight. And that leaves us with the final and maybe the most critical question of all. If we are going to have rules, who gets to write them? Technologists? Governments? Citizens like you and me? The answer to that question is going to shape our future in some really fundamental ways.